If you like dressing up in leather and bending over all day, you're probably a sports bike rider, or the gimp. Either way, there's one person who loves your bike more than you do, a Japanese motorbike thief. So I recently watched a Japanese YouTube video on a channel called Iwamoto Rock Book, and I'll put a link if you want to listen to some YouTube AI dubbing. But anyway, the presenter was contacted by a man who claimed to be a former member of a motorcycle theft gang. Now, according to this guy, he was involved in motorcycle theft around 10 years ago, but he said he's completely left that life and he now wants to tell people what he knows, in the hope that it'll prevent more motorcycles from being stolen. Anyway, the presenter actually sent him 10 questions to answer, and the answers are a mix of interesting, disturbing, and a bit depressing. So today I'm just going to go through those 10 questions and answers and tell you what this former thief says about how motorcycle theft works in Japan. So our thief says that the group he was in had about 4 to 5 people in it, and most of them of course were, well, not law-abiding citizens, so we say. I'm guessing he's referring to Yakuza perhaps, or petty criminals. But anyway, the team sometimes change members, some of them knew each other, some of them didn't know each other. But anyway, it was organised. Basically there was a director, and then they had the people who did the actual crime. So the people who actually did the crime were usually just a group of around 4 people. Now, he said the gang leader would generally get information about where the target bike is kept from sources like bike shops that are struggling and owe some kind of debt, or they might use one of the lower level workers at the bike shop to get information, one of the mechanics perhaps. And or they might even get information from the bike owners themselves by pretending to be friendly and chatting to them at a parking area or some kind of event. Now, of course, they might also just spot a bike on the street, but even if they did that, they would pass the bike numerous times to make sure what was going on before they planned the theft. So for this question, I'll just tell you exactly what he said. Back when he was stealing, the 1 litre super sports bikes were the primary target. There were Russian, Malaysian or Canadian buyers who would buy these bikes immediately for cash, no matter what condition they were in. Now, because there's such a high demand for these big bikes were usually sent overseas immediately once they were stolen. What happens to them after that, we don't know. Maybe they're stripped into parts or sold as whole vehicles. But anyway, because the cost of stealing a bike is pretty low, they'll happily sell a bike that's worth, 2 million yen or more. They'll happily sell it for 300,000 or 400,000 because that's pure profit. So we just talked about how this guy mainly dealt in big bikes to send overseas, but for the domestic market, classic bikes were sold usually to bike shops. Well, he says sell, but I don't know if that's the right word, because it says that the bike shops were basically forced to buy them. So it's not like the bike shops are going, hey, here's some information, go steal that bike. It was more like the thieves were holding something over the bike shop and saying, hey, you got to buy this bike, or you've got to give me this information, or you're going to turn this bike into money for me, right? This was a bit of a surprising answer. Basically, he says, behind every theft ring, he believes a bike shop is always involved. And how they're involved is many ways. I mean, sometimes the bike shop is the source of information. Sometimes someone working in the bike shop is a source of information. Sometimes the bike shop is forced to buy a stolen bike by standover tactics. And sometimes the bike shop even deals with a stolen bike that has some mechanical problem that needs fixing. So yeah, pretty surprising. Now obviously he says a time when there aren't many people about is an obvious time to steal a bike, but one surprising thing is he says they actually used to check the times when police shifts changed, or the police had break times between night and morning. So So he says back when he was stealing bikes, around 2 a.m. was the usual time. Basically, there are no anti-theft systems that cannot be breached. But he says thieves tend to avoid things that take a long time to break or things that make loud noises. But as far as alarms go, this part's a bit amazing. On windy days, the thieves would intentionally set off alarms a few times and wait for the owner to come and turn it off. So, you know, if there's a typhoon going on, which often happens in Japan, they'll give the bike a little nudge, set off the alarm, go hide, wait till the owner comes out, then they'll go set it off again, and then the owner will think, oh my god, the typhoon's setting the alarm off, I better turn it off. So he does that, and then the owner goes to bed, and the bike thieves steal the bike. Commercially available wire locks and disc locks are useless. He actually wrote in his answer, they're foolish. So they might work against kids pulling pranks, but for a theft gang, they mean nothing. And he actually names a specific brand of lock that will break with just one whack with a hammer. So off-the-shelf locks and things are studied by the thieves. They know how to bypass them. Not a very surprising answer to this one. Of course, the HiAce van is the vehicle of choice because it fits a bike nicely and you can't see inside. But one thing is, the van is often a stolen van itself, so if there's any problem during the theft, they can just ditch the whole thing. So for extra information, all he said that a thief's toolkit consists of chain cutters, bolt cutters, a sledgehammer and a crowbar. Just with these 4 tools you can basically deal with any lock or security measure. And he also said even back in his day, so that's 10 years ago, immobilizers were easily bypassed, so he said you shouldn't rely on them. Anything that takes a long time to breach or makes a loud noise that gets noticed by people, these are the things that thieves will avoid the most. Making it time consuming for the thieves is the important thing. Well, what did you think of the Confessions of a Japanese Motorbike Thief? I thought it was all pretty depressing. I mean, who can you trust? Can't trust your bike shop, you know, although I've often been at the bike shop and I've looked at some of the younger guys there who look like, I guess in English you'd call them delinquents. In Japanese they're called furiols. And you think, geez, you know, can you really trust that guy? He's got access to your information. Who knows who his friends are or who he's connected to. So that wasn't really a surprise. He actually later on says in the video that he used to be a mechanic at a bike shop, and if you passed on some information to some motorcycle gangs, you could make a nice little bit of pocket money. Anyway, all very depressing. I did make a video about motorcycle theft in Japan, when was that? I don't know, a couple of years ago. Japan is a pretty safe country in general, but as with motorbikes, if you're going to be riding a motorbike instead of a car, you're 27 times more likely to have your vehicle stolen. So actually just over there used to be a really good parking spot that they've closed now, boxed it off and made it only for bicycles, but you used to be able to park your motorbike there. And there were always these seedy looking kids sitting on the, well, kids, teenagers, maybe 20s, sitting on the fence there just watching bikes come in and out. And I always thought, what are those guys watching for? Anyway, what do you think? Do you think your bike would be safer in your home country or in Japan? Very keen to hear your opinion. Or if you've got any tactics that keep your bike safe, they're always good to share. Or everybody loves a good stolen bike story. Anyway, till next time, thanks for watching and see you in the next video.